An elderly woman rescued a wounded male lion. What he did when he woke up was shocking. The sun rises over the vast grasslands of Zimbabwe's Wang National Park. In that quiet moment, a lonely old male lion roars. Once he was the leader of a mighty pride, but as time passed, his health gradually declined. The once majestic man became emaciated, his mane ragged. One morning, the young lions became more aggressive and took over the leadership. They attacked the poor old lion, tearing his skin and biting his legs. The old male lion fought back weakly, blood seeping from his wounds. Finally, he could no longer continue and was chased out of the territory by the pride. Step by step, he limped towards the edge of the national park, a place he had never set foot on before. The injured leg caused the lion to ache every time he moved. His hunger was even more tormenting because he could not hunt in this miserable state. Its mind was hazy before, its eyes was only the dry grass, burning under the harsh sun. Thirst, hunger, and bleeding wounds quickly exhausted it. The old lion trudged along the border of the national park, approaching the sparsely populated area. There people lived in simple wooden houses. Mrs. Farida, an elderly woman who used to work in Wang, chose to stay close to the animals she loved. She wanted her retirement to be connected to the wild nature. One evening at dusk, Mrs. Farida heard a weak roar outside the wooden house. She gently opened the door and was suddenly faced with a large old male lion. The sight made her shiver. It was both fierce and pitiful, with wounds covering its body. The lion growled, softly, but the sound was weak, more than threatening. Mrs. Farida realized that the wheezing sound was like a cry for help, not an attack. The lion's body was covered in dirt, and the wound on its leg was swollen. Although she was scared, she slowly retreated into the house and took her old first aid kit. She calculated the dangers. If the lion suddenly attacked, she might not survive. But her intuition and compassion urged her to act. Mrs. Farida turned back and slowly approached the lion that was limp in front of the porch. The lion tilted its head to one side, seemingly without any strength left. She began to clean the wounds on its neck and back, clearly seeing the deep bite marks. She softly said, "Don't be afraid. I will help you." Tension took over her, but years of experience working with animals taught her to stay calm. The most difficult thing was the wound on the leg where the lion had been bitten. The blood had dried. Mrs. Farida used warm water and antiseptic solution, gently removing the dirty blood. The lion groaned in pain, but still lay still as if accepting. Seeing that it was not aggressive, she guessed that it was too exhausted to fight back. Gradually, she finished bandaging the lion's leg with a clean bandage. While doing so, she kept looking into its half-closed eyes to detect any unusual signs. After the first aid, she breathed a sigh of relief, stood up, her hands and feet trembling with excitement. She went back into the house, called the conservation team in Wang, and reported the situation. They were surprised to hear the story of an old male lion drifting to a residential area. However, they promised to come soon, bringing support equipment. While waiting, Mrs. Farida stood guard, afraid that another wild animal would come. The sunset fell, dyeing the sky orange, imprinting the tattered silhouette of the lion in front of the wooden house. Mrs. Farida looked at the lion, her heart filled with pity. It used to be the master of the grasslands, but now it had collapsed at the doorstep of humans. About 30 minutes later, a conservation vehicle appeared with its headlights shining brightly. They got out of the vehicle carrying a tranquilizer gun and a large iron cage. At that moment, the lion opened its eyes slightly, trying to raise its head. It roared softly, startled by the light shining directly into its eyes. The wound on its leg had been bandaged, but its strength was still too weak. A staff member took out a tranquilizer syringe, aimed accurately, and shot the lion to avoid danger. The injection hit its target. The lion struggled weakly, but then gradually fell into unconsciousness. "Success!" they shouted, hurriedly carrying it into the protective cage. Mrs. Farida slowly walked over, gently touched the iron bar, and looked at the lion lying still. Although she had only known it for a few moments, she had become attached because of her sympathy for someone in the same old age. The lion's eyes closed, but it suddenly opened its eyes to look at her again, as if to thank her. Mrs. Farida smiled and nodded slightly. The conservation staff reassured her, saying that they would take it to the veterinary station in the safe area. She nodded, watching the carrying the lion's cage roll away into the night. Everything happened like a dream. Mrs. Farida returned home, feeling relieved. The next day, she kept thinking about the old lion. Would it survive the dangerous situation? Time passed slowly. A week passed. She decided to go to Wong National Park herself. She drove the old car to the gate where she had been attached for many years. The staff recognized her from afar, immediately welcomed her and led her to the safe area, a separate area large enough for the old lion to recover and be cared for. Mrs. Farida was anxiously wondering how the wound on the lion's leg was now. When she arrived, she saw the lion standing next to the steel fence, looking healthier than before. It recognized her immediately, growled happily, and approached. The bandage on its leg had been replaced with a new one. The old scars were gradually closing. Mrs. Farida slowly reached her hand through the fence, gently stroking the fur on its leg. The old lion did not avoid it, but instead stretched its body as if responding. A conservation worker said, "We have been monitoring it for the past week. Its health has improved quite well." Mrs. Farida smiled lightly, feeling warm in her heart, knowing that she had saved it in time. The worker continued, "This lion probably cannot return to the pride. We will take care of it for the rest of its life." Her eyes suddenly softened, both sympathetic and understanding of the cruel laws of nature. The old lion seemed to understand the story, looking at her with cloudy eyes. She reached out and gently touched the shaggy mane through the fence. "I'm old. It's good to be at ease here." Once again the lion groaned softly, as if agreeing with its benefactor. Mrs. Farida recalled the first moment she met it. Its body was almost giving out. If she hadn't intervened, the lion would have died in front of her house in the dark night. But now it was safe with food, medicine, and a place to recuperate. Mrs. Farida was happy to be able to help a life that was nearing its end, not to die in vain. She turned to thank the conservationists who had tried to save and care for the lion. They smiled, saying that she was the bravest one. She thought that despite her old age, she still had the same love for animals as before. The lion blinked at her, letting out a peaceful sigh. She put her hand on her heart, returning that look with a rare warmth in her old age. Then she said goodbye. promising to visit often, bringing some of its favorite food. Stepping out of the safe area, Mrs. Farida smiled peacefully, believing that the last days of the bold king would be more peaceful, in a place where it was still cherished and cared for. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.